Emotional abuse doesn't leave visible scars, but the effects on your brain are shockingly real. Did you know that prolonged emotional abuse can shrink parts of your brain? Studies show that the hippocampus, the part of the brain that controls memory and learning, can shrink by up to 20% in people who've been emotionally abused. That's not all. Emotional trauma can flood your brain with cortisol, the stress hormone, which can make you anxious, fearful, and stuck in survival mode. And here's something most people don't realize. Emotional abuse can change the way your brain processes even the smallest stress, leaving you constantly on edge. It's not just in your head, it's in your brain chemistry. In this video, we'll dive into how emotional abuse rewires your brain, why it's so hard to break free from the anxiety trap, and how you can start healing and regain control. Stick around to learn the science behind emotional abuse and the powerful strategies that can help you rebuild your life, step by step. Chapter 1. Silent Scars: The Hidden Damage of Emotional Abuse. Emotional abuse doesn't leave physical scars, but the damage it does to the brain is real. Studies show that the brain processes emotional pain in the same regions it processes physical pain. This means that heartbreak, rejection, or humiliation can be as painful as a broken bone. Emotional trauma changes the way we think, and it often happens so subtly that people don't even realize it. One powerful example comes from a study conducted by neuroscientists at UCLA. They found that long-term emotional abuse can shrink the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and learning. This explains why people who've experienced abuse often have trouble concentrating or remembering details. It's not just in their head, it's a physical change in the brain. Emotional abuse also overactivates the amygdala, which is the brain's alarm system. When this happens repeatedly, the brain becomes more sensitive to stress, anxiety, and fear. Over time, even small conflicts can trigger huge emotional reactions. This makes it hard to form healthy relationships and makes it feel like you're constantly on edge. But here's the hopeful part. The brain can heal. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and form new connections, means that with the right strategies, you can reverse some of this damage. One powerful way to do this is through mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness has been shown to reduce amygdala activity, calming the brain's alarm system. In a study published in Frontiers in Psychology, regular mindfulness practice actually increased the size of the hippocampus. Another effective strategy is cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. CBT helps people challenge and reframe the negative thoughts that emotional abuse plants in the brain. By doing this, you're essentially rewiring your brain to think more positively, which helps to heal those silent scars. Chapter 2. Rewiring your emotional circuit: How abuse alters brain chemistry. When we experience emotional abuse, our brain chemistry changes. The brain is designed to adapt to our environment, so in abusive situations, it starts to adjust in harmful ways. One of the most significant changes is the increased production of cortisol, the stress hormone. In a healthy environment, cortisol helps us deal with stress. But when we're constantly under emotional attack, the brain releases more cortisol than it can handle. Chronic exposure to high cortisol levels leads to brain inflammation and can even cause neuronal damage. Over time, this impacts how we think, feel, and behave. According to a study from the University of Texas, emotional abuse survivors have higher levels of cortisol than those who haven't experienced abuse, even years after the abuse ended. Here's an interesting fact. A Harvard study revealed that children who grow up in abusive environments often have underdeveloped prefrontal cortices. This part of the brain is responsible for decision-making and impulse control. So, survivors of long-term abuse might find it harder to make clear decisions or control their reactions, even in situations that don't seem stressful to others. However, the brain can rewire itself. Regular physical exercise, especially aerobic exercise, is proven to lower cortisol levels and increase the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. BDNF is like a fertilizer for the brain, promoting the growth of new neurons and helping to repair damaged ones. Additionally, Practices like gratitude journaling can have a surprising impact. Research from the University of California shows that people who regularly write down things they're grateful for experience lower stress levels and higher dopamine release, which helps to balance brain chemistry. Gratitude may seem simple, but it's one of the easiest ways to start rewiring the emotional circuit. Quick pause, subscribe to stay updated, then let's jump right back in. Chapter 3. The Anxiety Trap. Why your brain stays stuck in fight or flight. When you're emotionally abused, your brain shifts into survival mode. The fight or flight response kicks in, designed to protect you from immediate danger. But here's the problem. In emotionally abusive situations, the threat is constant and psychological, not physical. So your brain stays stuck in this hyper-vigilant state, and it doesn't know how to relax. The constant activation of the fight or flight system means your body is always flooded with adrenaline and cortisol. This can lead to chronic anxiety, sleep problems, and a weakened immune system. According to research from the American Psychological Association, people who endure emotional abuse are significantly more likely to develop anxiety disorders, PTSD, and even autoimmune diseases. One fascinating insight comes from The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, which explains that trauma lodges itself in both the brain and the body. Emotional abuse may be invisible, but it has very real physical consequences. Luckily, there are strategies to break this cycle. Deep breathing exercises, for example, have been shown to lower the heart rate and reduce cortisol levels, signaling to your brain that you're safe. A study from Harvard Medical School found that people who practice controlled breathing for 20 minutes a day significantly reduce their anxiety levels. Another powerful technique is progressive muscle relaxation, PMR, which helps you identify and release tension stored in your body. The Mayo Clinic recommends PMR as an effective way to deactivate the fight or flight response, allowing your brain to shift into a calmer, more balanced state. By focusing on how your body feels, you're teaching your brain to respond differently to stress. Chapter 4. Emotional Sabotage. How abuse destroys self-worth and confidence. Emotional abuse can quietly sabotage a person's self-worth over time. Instead of an instant breakdown, it's like erosion, slow but devastating. Abusers often use subtle tactics like gaslighting, belittling, and constant criticism to make their victims question their own value. After months or even years of hearing that you're not good enough or that everything is your fault, it's natural to start believing it. The brain takes this constant stream of negativity and internalizes it, creating a negative self-image. According to research from the University of Chicago, people who've experienced emotional abuse tend to develop a critical inner voice. This self-criticism mirrors the abuser's words, making it hard to regain confidence even after the abuse ends. So, how do you reverse this process and rebuild self-worth? One effective strategy is to use self-compassion practices. Dr. Kristen Neff, a leading researcher in self-compassion, explains that learning to be kind to yourself, especially when you make mistakes, can help rewire the brain. Her research shows that self-compassion actually reduces levels of cortisol and increases oxytocin, the love hormone, which is linked to feelings of safety and security. Another practical tool is positive affirmations. It may sound simple, but repeatedly telling yourself affirming messages can slowly reprogram your brain. A 2015 study from the University of Pennsylvania found that daily affirmations significantly boosted participants' self-esteem over time. By writing or speaking positive statements about yourself, you start to replace those old negative beliefs with new, empowering ones. Lastly, surrounding yourself with supportive people is key. Social connection triggers the release of dopamine and serotonin, two chemicals that are crucial for mental well-being. According to The Happiness Advantage by Sean Achor, spending time with friends who uplift you can help rebuild your confidence and improve your outlook on life. Chapter 5. Healing the Brain. Rebuilding Resilience After Emotional Trauma. The good news is that the brain is designed to heal. While emotional abuse can cause real damage, the brain has an incredible ability to bounce back, a process called neuroplasticity. The first step toward healing is to create an environment where the brain feels safe again. One strategy to achieve this is through setting healthy boundaries. Boundaries help protect your emotional energy, giving your brain space to recover. In Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend, they emphasize that saying no is not selfish. It's essential for self-preservation. When you set limits with toxic people, your brain learns that you're in control of your environment, which can reduce stress and anxiety. Another way to heal is through journaling. Writing about your experiences gives your brain a chance to process emotions in a safe, non-judgmental way. Dr. James Pennebaker, a psychologist from the University of Texas, found that expressive writing can actually improve immune function, lower blood pressure, and reduce symptoms of depression. The act of writing helps the brain make sense of what happened, which is a crucial part of the healing process. Don't forget the importance of physical movement. Exercise is one of the most powerful tools for emotional recovery. A Harvard Medical School study found that regular aerobic exercise reduces the symptoms of PTSD by increasing serotonin and endorphins, which are natural mood stabilizers. Even a 20-minute walk each day can make a difference in how your brain processes stress and trauma. Lastly, practicing gratitude can significantly improve your emotional resilience. Research from the University of California, Davis showed that people who kept a gratitude journal for just 3 weeks experienced better mental health and stronger relationships. Gratitude helps shift your focus from what's wrong to what's right, which can start to rewire the brain's negativity bias. If you found this video helpful, subscribe for more great content like this.